The question is, when you look at the Yankees, with all the injuries the Yankees have had so far in spring training, lost Severino with Tommy John surgery. He's going to be out until next year. You talk about some of the young players that they're going to be bringing back. Montgomery coming back. Garcia coming up. And even Volpe, who looked like he played his first game as a professional player in spring training, who's going to be the future shortstop for the New York Yankees, could be in the near future because Torres could be moved back to second base when DJ LeMahieu, they decide to move on from DJ LeMahieu. The Yankees have been hitting in spring training, but they could lose Aaron Judge for a significant amount of time with the shoulder injury that he has. Right. Now, he is playing right now in spring training, but this shoulder injury could be a problem with him dragging throughout this season. They're talking about possibly rotator cuff surgery in the future.
I think that's why they're trying to test it now rather than later in spring training when if he were to miss time, it would be into the regular season. If he misses time now, it's a month or two, and then you're back for the regular season, or maybe you missed some of the regular season, and then you start in late April or something like that. You'd rather have that than have it linger into the season. So they're probably trying to experiment with him by having him play through it and see how it works.
And Giancarlo Stanton, this guy has not been healthy since the day the Yankees brought him to the team. This guy cannot stay healthy. Now, he makes a lot of money. The Yankees pay him almost $30 million a year, and it goes up every single year for the next 5 or 6 years. And he has a no-trade clause, which the Yankees are not going to be able to move that contract unless he gets to pick where he wants to go. He's still fairly young. He's 31 years old. He still has a tremendous amount of power, and I still think Giancarlo Stanton, if he were to retire right now, he's a borderline Hall of Famer because of his numbers in the time that he did it, as fast as he did it.
Just imagine if he was healthy, he'd be a definite Hall of Famer.
Yeah, and I look at the Yankees right now and the injuries that Torres looks good right now in spring training. We expect him to be. Gleyber Torres has looked fantastic. Andujar's looked fantastic in spring training, which everybody said, oh, what is he going to be coming back from that shoulder injury? Well, so far so good. Some people think Andujar is going to be the best hitter on the Yankees this year.
Some fans wanted him traded, too.
Which is ridiculous. Just like they wanted Sanchez. And Sanchez hit almost 30 home runs last year, and he batted, 80, 90 RBIs? How many catches did that last year? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Yankee fans just like to put down the players if they're not playing well and they're not producing in big parts of the game.
Yep.
But you look at the Yankees.
For me lately, that's all they think about.
When you look at the Yankees, it bothers you. Yeah, he had 34 home runs. He batted
77
RBI. 77 RBI.
Average is a little low.
Yeah, and on-base percentage 316 and slugging percentage 525. When you look at those numbers, how many catches had those numbers? Even batting 230 as a catcher is good in the major leagues. Now, he's not Mike Piazza. I mean, how many Mike Piazzas are? He's also probably not doing steroids either. And I'm not saying Mike Piazza is on steroids. Yeah. Well, I don't think he is because they get tested. In the time that Mike Piazza played, did he get tested? He probably didn't.
No, because they probably didn't think of it for a catcher.
But you look at the Yankees right now and where the Yankees are at. Are you excited to go into the season knowing that one of your best pitchers is out for the season? James Paxton's not going to be back until 2 or 3 months. You have Cole. He looked good yesterday. He looks good. Tanaka looks good. But who's your number 3? J.A. Happ, who's looked good too. And J.A. Happ had a bad season last year, and it usually is he plays good one year, he's bad the next. Mm-hmm. He's good one year, bad the next. So maybe J.A. Happ gives you 15, 16 wins this year. But the Yankees are expected to win a World Series, bringing in Garrett Cole in the offseason and paying him $325 million the way they paid him, 9 years, and he's pitching every 5th day. If they lose Garrett Cole for a significant amount of time, the Yankees are in a huge amount of trouble. Because they lost 2 of their starters. Everybody was talking about their rotation. It went before the season started and making the move for Garrett Cole. It was Garrett Cole, Paxton, Tanaka, Severino, J.A. Happ as your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you have guys coming back from suspensions. You have Montgomery coming back. Garcia, the young pitcher that they have in their farm system. They have a couple other pitchers that they're talking about right now. They had so much depth. Now you talk about what depth do the Yankees have right now, losing 2 of their top 4 pitchers for a significant amount of time, 1 for the whole season.
You have to rely on a lot of those openers.
And to me right now, the Yankees are in even more trouble right now than they were last year. And they had the most injuries in Major League history last year. In 32, 33 injuries last year?
32, I think it was.
And they had 103 wins last year going into the playoffs.
Because a lot of that depth stepped up, but can do it again.
And I like what Boone said. Aaron Boone believes and he trusts his team. He trusts that his team is going to get healthy at the right time, and they're going to be a championship competitive team this year. What he said, he says, we're as good as we were last year, even better, and we're going to get over this hump, and we're going to win. And that's what we plan to do. We plan to win with the players that we have. And this is a great chance for Clint Frazier to really prove himself. It really does, because when you look at Clint Frazier and you look at the position that he's in, there's a lot of teams that are interested in him and want him, and the Yankees decided not to move him in the offseason, which I think was a good move because
you'll be trading him on a low, yeah.
Yeah, you'll be trading him on a low, and I don't think the Yankees want to trade him. This is a guy could be a 30 and 100 guy every single year. So, and a lot of people thought was a 5-tool player before he had his woes in the outfield. So this is a guy that has tremendous speed. People are saying the fastest bat on the Yankees. The fastest bat on the New York Yankees. Now, we saw what happened to Bird. We saw what happened to him. I think he's on his way to Philadelphia because when you talk about Joe Girardi, I think Joe Girardi, if anybody thinks he could fix Greg Bird, it's Joe Girardi because his best years were with Joe Girardi. So, and you talk about Greg Bird. Greg Bird was the best hitter in their farm system. They were talking about this guy being a future Triple Crown winner. That's what they were talking about when they brought him up, and he completely fell off after that ankle injury. He's never been the same.
And he hit under 200. That's far from the Triple Crown.
And that's why when you look at the predicament the Yankees are in right now, you wonder, are the Yankees ready to win this year, or are they going to wait until next year? And I'll tell you this right now. If the Yankees do not win a World Series this year, no matter how good Aaron Boone has looked as the manager, yes, how good he's looked as the manager, winning 2 back-to-back years of 100 wins, if he doesn't win a World Series this year and he wins a third back-to-back 100-win season, which no manager has ever done in Major League history, I think he could be fired. Because there are a lot of fans that want his head.
Now,
a lot of fans.
Even if they lose to a team like the Dodgers, which are also a juggernaut too.
It's winner. If they don't win this year, it's win or go home. And I think the Yankees and that organization, they're feeding for a championship, especially when you pay a pitcher $325 million to pitch every 5th day.
No, I understand that. I think that logic would go if they maybe get upset by a wild card team or they get upset in the ALCS because they're pretty runaway talent-wise the best team in the American League. I'm just saying if they lose in a close 7-game series to a team like the Dodgers who also has depth and tons of stardom, tons of talent on that team, I don't think that's really fireable.
Again, when you look at the way organizations are built, and we've seen it, did anybody think that Alex Cora was going to be fired because of this whole situation with the Astros? Probably not. But they fired him. And this is a guy that won a World Series a year and a half ago. And
because of cheating.
And he was the manager of the year. Now, I understand he cheated.
Yeah, well, that's a little skeptical now.
Well, obviously it is, but he still was manager of the year, and he still won a World Series. I look at the Yankees right now, and it does worry me going into the season with the injuries that they have and a significant amount of injuries that they have to a significant amount of players. These aren't just players like Gio Urshela or a guy like Clint Frazier or Mike Talkman or somebody like that. Nobody cares about those players. They really don't. Those are fill-in players. They care about the Giancarlo Stantons, the Aaron Judges, the Gleyber Torreses, the DJ LeMayus, who DJ LeMayu, I believe, was the MVP of the league last year, who did not win, and I understand that because there's a lot of good players in the major leagues. But DJ LeMayu was fabulous for the New York Yankees, and I think he's going to be even better as an everyday second baseman, which is his position of choice.
He's a phenomenal defensive player at second base.
Mm-hmm. So I think the Yankees are going to absolutely benefit, even though they lost a guy like Didi Gregorious, which I was very surprised that the Yankees didn't even make him an offer. Didi Gregorious was the leader of that team and that organization. And if you look at the Yankees' playoff runs the last couple of years, Didi Gregorious has been their best hitter, one of their best hitters.
Yeah, you wonder if the Yankees expected his market to be a little stronger than it actually was. and maybe that's why they were anticipating teams to give him maybe more close to 18, 19 million rather than the 14 million he got from the Phillies. Maybe they were expecting it, and maybe by the time the Phillies signed him or was close to signing him, maybe they just couldn't do it at that point after getting Cole and being as close as they are to the luxury tax. They didn't want to risk it with the other offensive depth they had. So maybe they just anticipated it wrong, but we'll see how that ends up making a difference, because he did have very good postseason games, especially in the Indian series 2 years ago, and even in that Astros series, there were certain games he was the best player.
What has been a surprise to you right now in spring training? What player has really stuck out to you? I've watched a couple of games.
I haven't seen much, so I'd have
really haven't watched Speedy of all people.
I haven't seen much with spring training because I watched a lot of the combine, so I didn't see much in terms of spring training. So I can't really answer for that at the moment. And I saw one.
How about Ozuna going to the Braves?
Yeah, that's nice. That's another team that's loaded too, so he's going to be able to flourish in that lineup. The problem is he's kind of one of those up and down types of players, though. Will he play well? Because he didn't play well his first year.
It didn't make sense why the Cardinals didn't sign him. It really didn't. And that's not something the Cardinals do, is let go of a player of that magnitude. And Ozuna is a good player.
Right. Normally they know when to let go of their homegrown talent a lot of the times, but when they bring in free agents, they usually try to hang on to them because they know how to develop other areas. They'll take on those contracts and make it work. But I think with the Braves, the biggest thing with him is being able to just try to do it his first year, because he didn't do it his first year with the Cardinals. He was a little down. And he was up and down with the Marlins. He had a year in 2015 when he was sent down to the minors. Then he bounced back and had a great year. So which Ozuna are you going to get is the question. Now, the Braves don't need him to be a all-star MVP type player, but they need him to not be 2015 Marcell Ozuna or 2018 Marcell Ozuna.
And that's why when I look at the New York Mets and going into the New York Mets and what we've seen so far in spring training is they're not hitting. And that's been a problem for the New York Mets. They're not hitting. And yes, Yoenis Cespedes looks like he will play and will start the season after that whole pig incident where everybody was talking about who gets attacked by a wild boar and breaks his ankle or whatever, fractures his ankle. I mean, the stories that you hear from this guy. I mean, this guy comes in with a horse. He comes in with all different cars. And
I think he's just trying to make the Guinness World Records books for strangest injuries of all time.
Well, he's a strange guy, and anybody that knows Yoenis Cespedes knows that he is a strange guy. A talented guy, and he has all the ability in the world to do the things that he does. And I could see Yoenis Cespedes being an MVP candidate this year because he's going to be up for a contract.
He's going to have to play all year for that.
Yeah, well, I think he will. I think he will because it's all about money to this guy. This guy wants to make money. He's got to play. So I could see him absolutely playing the whole season and hitting about 35, 40 home runs and being a candidate, giving the Mets 110 to 115 RBIs. In the middle of that lineup with the Polar Bear, I mean, that could be one of the best power lineups in baseball. So
I mean, you would hope it's just a matter of can his body take it at this point.
I also believe the balls are going to be completely different this year. They're not going to be as tight, and David Cohn said it right, and I remember what David said when he looked at the baseballs from now and the baseball that he signed for somebody else, and he was comparing the balls, that the seams are tighter, much, much tighter last year than they ever have been, and the balls were tighter, and that's why I think there were a lot of home runs.
Was the one he signed a game-used baseball, though? Okay.
Yes.
All right, because that makes a difference, too.
He was
the difference between that and the souvenir balls.
Yeah, he was looking at the ball. He was looking at the balls from the 80s and the 90s, and he was looking at the balls from this year, and he says they're extremely different with the seams and the way the seams are even thrown. And he said that they're definitely, you could tell they're definitely tight. And baseball, the baseballs were completely different in the playoffs. You saw that. There weren't as many home runs in the playoffs. And some people say, well, it's a playoff and better pitching. No, it was because the balls are different.
Well, it's not only better pitching. It was also in the postseason, you don't try to always hit the home run. It's all about situational hitting in the playoffs, not striking out, things like that. So the team approach changes, whereas in the regular season, yeah, you're still trying to win games, but you're also trying to build up your own individual stats too, where the playoffs, you're trying to produce for your team. You're going to win now.